Kennedy Space Johnson, sorry, other one, that's the Texas one, not the Florida one that I went to. Johnson Space Center, and it is an honor to have him here today. So please give your utmost of respect to him, and yeah, the floor is yours. The floor is yours.
Well, let me give you a little bit more background on myself. I retired 16 years ago, so it's been a while since I've been at the Johnson Space Center. I was there for 37 years. I started there as I was probably 18 years old. I was a cooperative education student, which is a program that colleges have where you can go to school for a semester and then you go to work for a semester, and that gives you an idea of whether or not you really want to work in that environment or not. It's a good program, and when you all get off to college, I highly recommend checking into that. It is not just for engineering world, but it's also for many other studies. I have a degree in aeronautical and astronautical engineering. Yes, I am a rocket scientist. So, let's see, what else can I tell you about myself that you might know? In 37 years, I worked in aircraft operations and engineering. I worked Skylab reentry, probably 1979, the year Teresa was born. I worked in, what else? Payload operations. When the shuttle would fly, it would always carry an experiment. Well, that experiment had to get integrated into the shuttle, and so somebody had to help the scientists do that. So I got to work with some of the most brilliant people in this world, putting together their science packages, fly those. I also worked with my system when I got into it was the remote manipulator. How many of you have ever seen the bionic arm, the arm on the shuttle station? That was my system. I worked in the shuttle program office, which is the management of the overall shuttle program. And then I finished out my career in safety and mission assurance. So I've kind of seen the whole broad gamut of Johnson Space Center. So I should be able to answer if you had any questions about that. I understand that you all watched a video the other day. What'd you think of it? Are you sure? So does anybody have a question about the video? No? Do you have a question?
How long did it, is there like a specific time for how long it took to build the rocket?
I'm going to have to ask you to speak up just a little bit.
How long did it specifically take to build the rocket?
To build the rocket, it took decades. They started working on it in the late 60s, right after they went to the moon. Yes, ma'am.
Are you guys going to rocket right now?
NASA?
Are they building a rocket?
Yeah, they're building a rocket. Sure. They're going to go back to the moon. You in the back.
How long does it take to be able to go onto a rocket?
How long does it take to go onto a rocket?
Yeah, how much do you have to train?
Oh, it takes many years. The people who are astronauts come in as candidates, and then they're tested and trained, and a lot of them flunk out. That's only the top get to go on to be astronauts, and then they train for years and years before they go on their first mission.
Do you know when the next science experiment is?
I do not, but there, in the space station, there's science going on all the time. So I can't tell you what the news is.
How long does it take to get from Earth to space?
From Earth to space,
Yeah, like how long?
it takes, when you launch the shuttle, we were in space in 10 minutes. Yes. Ready.
What metal do they build the rockets out of?
Aluminum and titanium.
Is there like a certain like period of time that you have to like stay in space, or like you can stay in space like as long as you have like
What's the question?
Good question. They don't know how long. They're doing experiments to see. But when you're in space, in a weightless environment, your bones lose bone mass. So when you come back to Earth, your bones will be very brittle and break and stuff. Your muscles, since you don't need them, atrophy. They get weak. And so, like the Russians, when they came back, they had to be carried out of the spacecraft. They couldn't get out of it. For us, we have the guys exercise. There's certain exercises they do so they can stay longer. But I think the longest time anybody stayed in space is maybe 18 months. Yes. Michigan.
has a rocket ever exploded?
Yes. But none of ours with anybody. Morton.
How does the measurement angle work?
How does what?
How does the measurement angle work?
Oh, we talked about astronomical units.
Oh.
We were measuring in astronomical units the distance between the planets and the sun. And so he's asking, well, how does that compare? Like, how does that work?
I don't know the
What's the hardest planet to discover?
What's the hardest what?
Planet to discover.
Are you saying to look at?
Explore, yeah.
To explore? So far, any of them, because I've never explored anything.
No, like, it depends, like, with, not by humans,
Oh, but
a little bit.
the only ones that we put anything on is Mars. And then the rest of them we have. All of them but Mars. Purple.
How many rockets did you help make, or did you just like this progress?
I didn't make any rockets. I worked in that's a good question. I worked in the Johnson Space Center. We didn't make rockets there. The Marshall Space Flight Center made the rockets. And Honey, is that what your name is?
You, AJ, go ahead.
What planet do you think it'll be the easiest to live on?
Good question. Right now, they're trying to do Mars. That's the closest thing. All of them are very inhospitable. Let's get somebody over here. Good bit in.
Did you talk to people that were up in space?
Oh, yeah, some of them are.
What was the question?
Do I know the astronauts?
Yeah, and she said, did he get to talk to people while they were in space?
Jordan?
How many years do you have to be in college to be an astronaut?
That's a good question. There are different kinds of astronauts. There are pilots and commanders. Those usually come out of the military. Then there are the scientists. And they, almost all of them have PhDs. So probably 6 years or 6+ until you get your PhD. Plus, they have published and are recognized as tops in their field internationally. They're not just somebody who graduated. They also have worked real hard to be recognized as tops in their field. And then there are what's called payload specialists. Most people don't have to have a college degree at all. They just have to work for a company or somebody who wants to put their experiment into space, and they want you to go up and run this experiment. So you just have to work for a company or a university that wants you to go. So it's a broad range of answers. Yes.
When you're communicating and then on Earth, what sort of directions do you use? Like north, east, southwest?
No, you use, it's called azimuth and elevation. So azimuth is this way, like a compass, is this way, and you talk about degrees. And then elevation is up and down, and you talk about degrees that way. So it's an azimuth and elevation. See how it sounds familiar? I'm going to get into that in a little bit. So I got, we'll ask just a couple more questions and then we'll get started. Adidas.
What was your reaction when you figured out that they knew by now?
I was a kid in high school, and I watched it on TV, and I was really excited. That's what kind of led me into doing that and the work there. And you in the red in the back there with your hand.
I think what Apollo mission were you in?
What Apollo mission?
Yeah, right.
I worked the very end of the Apollo Soyuz and the Skylab mission. So I was really still a kid during Apollo. But I worked with all those people who worked the mission. Let's see. Green here. Lincoln.
How did you do it? I don't think the service wanted to go that far.
They do, special antennas. It's usually during the ultra high frequency UHF channel. And you can get many ways. You guys are too young for UHF channels. Never mind. I'll keep going until you don't have to stop. Red guy in the back.
So how did you like send like satellites and like cameras out there without like freezing up or like closest to the sun like burning?
Say that one more time. I have hearing aids, so I have to.
How do you send like cameras and like satellites like Neptune and like these planets to like without them like burning up or like freezing?
They have special heaters to keep them warm in the real cold. When you get into space, like if you're in, say you're on the moon, and you're standing there in the sun, sun's looking at you. Right there in your face is 250 degrees. In the shadow behind you is minus 250 degrees. Because there's no atmosphere, there's no nothing to make the heat go around you. So you have to manage heat and cold all the time when you're in space, all the time. So can you imagine what having to make a spacesuit that can let you be cool on one side and warm on the other side? That was a big challenge. Great guy.
What was the most fun part about being a mission control?
Most fun? Well, probably the people that you work with. They were just really bright, ambitious, really wonderful. I was in for 45 years.
What was the question?
How long was I in college?
So I'm guessing you're going to have a plethora of questions. So maybe if we pause on questions, we'll do a little bit of the presentation, and then if we have time at the end, let's definitely do more questions.
Okay. Okay. If I can make this work.
You have to turn that up, I think.
William Bradford, speaking in 1630 of the founding of the Plymouth Bay Colony, said that all great and honorable actions are accompanied with great difficulty, and both must be enterprised and overcome with answerable courage. If this capsule history of our progress teaches us anything, it is that man in his quest for knowledge and progress is determined and cannot be deterred. The exploration of space will go ahead. Whether we join in it or not, we mean to be a part of it. We mean to lead it. For the eyes of the world now look into space, to the moon, and to the planets beyond. Our leadership in science and industry, our hopes for peace and security, our obligations to ourselves as well as others, all require us to make this effort, to solve these mysteries, to solve them for the good of all men. There is no strife, no prejudice, no national conflict in outer space as yet. Its hazards are hostile to us all. Its conquest deserves the best of all mankind. We choose to go to the moon. We choose to go to the moon. We choose to go to the moon in this decade and do the other thing, not because they are easy, but because they are hard. Because that challenge is one that we're willing to accept, one we are unwilling to postpone, and one we intend to win.
Okay, how many of you ever heard that speech? Who can tell me who it is? John F. Kennedy. And who was he? President. So he was the President of the United States. And you all know that later he was assassinated, right? And when he was assassinated, NASA was in the middle of trying to go to the moon. And his assassination motivated NASA to complete his mission, complete his vision for us. So that was that speech for NASA was very, very. So from that talk, why do you think we should go to the moon? Just say it. To discover. Okay. Wow. Huh? Colonize.
Explore.
Huh? Explore.
Rebel.
To do what?
To wonder.
To wonder, okay. Push scientific. That's right. For research.
Check if there's life.
Check if there's life. That's a good one.
See brand new things.
See brand new things. There's another reason that was brought up. He mentioned it, that there was not conflict in space. There was a space race going on. The Russians were ahead of us a lot. And so one of the reasons that we wanted to go to space was so that we could keep the Russians from putting bombs and other things into orbit, and we wouldn't be able to defend it. So we wanted to get to space and to the moon first. That was another reason. There was a big competition. There was a political competition between the communist philosophy and our free society philosophy. Go ahead.
Didn't they use space for for a battleground kind of plant bombs and then send them down?
We did not, but it could be done. So I wanted you to, that's a very, very important part of what NASA is about, is politics. So, one of the things that NASA was a government organization, but it was non-military. It was a civilian organization. And it was public, where Russians did everything secretly. We only found out about it afterwards. We did everything in the public eye, so there's lots, everybody knew what we were doing. So why do you suppose it was a civilian organization?
Because maybe it was like a military operation, and they like had the almost like there was more than they were ending, so like there was more beneficial people who could use people who were learning in the military and the army and the heavy.
That's a good part. Somebody else said you can do it. Good.
So if Russians are doing it secretly, when we get in public eye, everybody will be like Americans without
Plus, we wanted to show to the world that we did not want to militarize space. We wanted it to be open for science, for exploration, all for the good of mankind, not for the benefit of your country being best, being overpowered. Go ahead.
Do you think it was risky to just like publicly say it?
Yeah, it sure was. It was risky because if it failed, everybody saw it. The failures of the Russians, you didn't find out until years later. So, and the purpose of NASA was to extend the technology in the country. Originally, it was called the NACA. And the NACA was a government agency during World War I, World War II, and it was to expand aerospace or aeronautical capabilities. They did airplanes and such. Then NASA, NACA moved into NASA, and it's used to push technology in many, many areas. So let me do the next one. Everybody know that's what that is? How much of the iceberg is below the water? Let me see. A lot of it. So NASA's like this iceberg, and Johnson Space Center and astronauts and such, just a little teeny tiny piece of it. There's so much more to this than just that. And I'm only going to be talking today just a little bit of it. But NASA has many centers. All of these are various NASA centers. There's Ames in California, Dryden in California, Glenn is in Ohio. Each of these do different things, from researching nanotechnology to airplane development. In fact, one of the things NASA's working on right now is an airplane that will go supersonic, be a supersonic transport plane. So you guys are going to fly from here to Europe. You can fly it faster than the speed of sound. And what's special about it is there won't be a sonic boom. Figuring out how to fly it so if there's one that's not any louder than the backfire of they've been working on some structures so that if you have a straight structure and you apply electricity to it, it will bend. And then you take the electricity off and go back to the way it was, apply it different, and bend the other way. And they're trying to do that so airplanes, you watch birds fly, and just before they land, they reshape their wings and land. And they're going to have airplanes. They'll be able to reshape their wings and land, just like birds. And then they're working on that. So there's, and you guys know they're going to other planets with remote satellites and such.
Which station sent out Voyager 1 and 2?
See that?
Which made Voyager 1 and 2? Voyager
And where did it launch from?
Yeah, where did it launch from? Where did Voyager 1 and 2 launch from?
They weren't launched from Kennedy Space Center. And they were primarily out of JPL.
Yeah, I was going to also ask you about Voyager 1 if you're getting any signals like that when it's lost in there.
I heard they got a signal back or something a year or two
I was hearing
ago.
about it just being ones and zeros for a while, but I don't know if they're going to get if they have gotten it.
Yeah, I think they've even quit. I think they may listen for it, but not very hard. There, we have had hundreds of unmanned missions, from Voyager to satellite system, robotic systems to Mars. Earth observation. You guys seen the satellite photos of the weather? That's all done by satellites that NASA got. The nanotechnology we're working on, aircraft structures.
How much satellites are in space right now?
I can't tell you how many, but there's actually a website that will tell you how many satellites are there and where they all are. I worked at the Johnson Space Center. Johnson Space Center originally was called the Manned Spacecraft Center. And it was called that because Johnson, anyway, who it's named after, Lyndon B. Johnson, was still living. He was vice president and president. And he couldn't name the center after Lyndon guy, so they waited till he passed, and then they got Lyndon after him. Johnson Space Center, one of the big searches, or one of the purposes of the Johnson Space Center is to take care of the astronauts. And so the astronauts, virtually everything at Johnson Space Center is oriented towards the astronauts. Whether it's mission control, supporting them in the current mission, or whether it's the training organization, training them for their mission, they have health thing for the mission, for each of the astronauts. They have special gyms and things for them. They have life sciences. They have life sciences for the experiments and such. So there's quite a bit that's what Johnson Space Center is all about. That was very much. This is a picture of the Johnson Space Center back in probably the late 70s. This is the Mission Control Center. This is what was called Building 4, but that's where the astronauts and the flight controllers, that's where their offices were. In this little building there was offices. The little building in between was a place where they had restaurants and cafeterias and sleeping quarters for flight controllers. And then Mission Control Center and the computers and everything in this all over the building. The red thing, that's construction. Those are just girders in the building. Yes.
Isn't there like
The rockets all launched in Kennedy Space Center, which is in Florida. This is in Houston. So we watched, when we were during launch, we would watch the launch from here, but it actually occurred in Florida. And in Florida, they had their own launch control center.
Why doesn't the thing launch go launches have
The place that you watched the launch, he's wondering why it didn't have windows, but that's because they were in Houston and they were being launched in Florida. So he's wondering why there's not windows in the building.
We didn't need them. And we were shift work, and so it was total environment, so you just didn't know what was going on.
So like a rocket like being launched, it's like extremely loud. So how do you like the people inside like position that? Is how loud?
You're not close enough for it to hurt you. Yeah.
Why was there a vaccine in the head?
Why? Oh, because it was dirty. How many rockets fly each year? They probably, I would say close to Depends, if it's a